majority leader in parliament, MAHAMA AYARIGA Akasa. Or say MPP MPs, minority, no, who are you? Who are you? Say, Obi Kasa, na mu ye de December man Kasa. Debi. It's against parliamentary protocol. No, the issue is not even about Kpandai constituency, no. Na strong one here, there ma MPP MPs, no. Me sure so we enjoy this episode. Nina, chaos a copy or parliament on the Kpandai constituency city na. Clerk of Parliament actually come Jemen as a vacant in the MPP another election in Kpandai constituency. Okyere Baafi and so MPP MP, where member of Parliament for New Job in South constituency. What's okay? Minority no. Omo kwama NDC MPs no embuli omo da. Ain enti ebeto aso sa share so nana janto TV ni obekle subscribe button amami we are bell notification icon no na wa turn no so that be video ni drop here you be the first person to get the video no o share na be like no comment na fi wa share na foforo so anya bi ahwe yemo akaba de omni se enra entokwa chenjirenche we ka the chaos na enye tension at a point in parliament na MPs ni ebinima kugu parliament in 50 hono na enye easy to show screen so pictures ni bi na rolling nano anana pay MAHAMA AYARIGA majority leader in parliament akọ granting interview joy 99.7 FM almost super morning show so ano din chiremu eba e dey na see your parliament na wo chechem se hwe issue nuko anya about Kpandai constituency o debi na sa city ni dey say ne two parliamentary candidates na anya omo asem Daniel Wakpal NDC ni sanso na Matthew Nyindam MPP ni na issue na nkasa dey na minority ni ye na nwanwa no se mo ye hwan mo who are you people who are you ya obi kasa mutumi so na some man kasa yenko tie full video I think I about 22 minutes MAHAMA AYARIGA enana pa oye interview join 99.7 FM and somebody to jafa enra chaos a see parliament no.
It is important for you to know exactly what happened yesterday. And before yesterday, I think 2 weeks ago, after the High Court gave its judgment declaring that there should be a rerun, a member on our side attempted to stop Honorable Matthew Nyindam from speaking on the floor. So it called for a ruling by the Speaker. The Speaker indicated in his ruling that you cannot stop Matthew from participating in Parliament, because even though there is a judgment that says that there should be a rerun in his constituency, which effectively is an indication that his election has been nullified by the court, but you have to wait for 7 days, and if after 7 days there is no order from the court restraining us from declaring the seat vacant, then you can now raise the issue of his right to participate. So 7 days passed, and that was the 1st of December. Then something constitutional kicked in. That is Article 112 subclause 5, which says that whenever a vacancy occurs in Parliament, the clerk to Parliament shall notify the Electoral Commission in writing within 7 days after the vacancy occurred, and a by-election shall be held within 30 days after the vacancy occurred. So the clerk was, by the Constitution, obliged to communicate the vacancy in the seat unless he has an order from a court restraining him from doing that. So the clerk waited until the 4th. Then he now decided that, well, there's no court order restraining me from communicating to the Electoral Commission. And if I don't communicate to the Electoral Commission within 7 days of the 1st of December, I, as clerk, will also stand in violation of the Constitution. So he wrote to the Electoral Commission, informing the Electoral Commission that there is a vacancy in the Kpandai constituency. And by the constitutional provisions of Article 1125, he is obliged to communicate to them. This letter went public, and this is what the NPP members came to the chamber yesterday morning and raised issues, saying that by their understanding of the ruling of Mr. Speaker on Thursday, 28th of November, the member for Kpandai, if he filed processes in the courts and served Parliament with those processes will serve as an injunction and restrain Parliament from communicating the vacancy to Electoral Commission. So they felt that the Parliament had treated them in bad faith by having sent the message to the Electoral Commission in spite of the ruling of the Speaker. So I, as leader, decided to mediate. So I invited the clerk and I invited the leadership of the minority. They refused to come. They finally sent one of them to come. So when they came, I requested for the ruling of the Speaker. And I went for the relevant laws and said, first, let's look at the ruling. And then let's look at what the law says. And let's see whether the clerk had erred in taking the decision to write to the Electoral Commission. When we examined the ruling of the Speaker, I noticed that the Speaker was focusing his ruling on the request for the member to be restrained from participating in the proceedings of Parliament on the week before, following the judgment.
Okay.
So I said this is what the Speaker was focusing on, and actually ruled in your favor as a minority that the member should stay. But then the Speaker then went ahead to say that if the member decided to appeal, it may serve as a restraint on anyone to try to stop the member from participating in the proceedings of Parliament. So, and they said, oh, the use of the may there gave them an indication that if they filed proceedings and served Parliament with the proceedings, then filing those proceedings will serve as a restraint. So I said, well, let's look at what the law also says. So we went for the CI, the constitutional instrument, the Court of Appeal rules. Now, Court of Appeal rules, CI 19 was amended by CI 132, and sections 27 of the CI clearly says that when a judgment is given against you, the execution of that judgment will not be restrained by the fact of you merely filing an appeal or even filing a motion for stay of execution. The only thing that will restrain the execution of that judgment is when there is an actual court order asking that execution should be stayed. So I pointed out to them that, look, there is no court order restraining the clerk from executing the judgment. You have filed an appeal, all right. You have filed a motion on notice for stay of execution of the ruling. You have to go to the court and move your motion and get an order before you can actually restrain the clerk. So these are the two sides. You feel you are genuinely misled by the way the Speaker put the matter in his ruling. But the clerk is acting based on what the law says. And I have shown you the law.
Yes, but while you've shown me the law, and leader, 1 minute, while you've shown me the law, for instance, the Speaker makes the point, because yes, he says it may serve.
Yeah.
Now, the Speaker makes the point that he's going to rule today, on that today. I mean, yesterday in the...
No, he didn't say today. He said he will rule on it, but he didn't say today.
Yes. So he makes the point that he's going to rule on it.
The
Speaker says he's going to rule on it. Now, the question...
Let me finish that. Okay. For me, the issue about today is not even about the law.
You go ahead.
So I then said, okay, you have raised the issue on the floor. There has been no response to your issue. So let's go back into the chamber and then repeat what you have said. I will also state the other side of the matter so that Ghanaians will have full understanding of the issue between us today. Then we will now invite the speaker to come and rule. And they said no, that they will not allow us to go back into the chamber and then both sides will state their case. I said, but that's not democracy. In a democracy, if you speak, me too, I should speak. I even have a higher voice because I have a larger number. You have a smaller number. And yet you have a right to speak. And you say, I should not speak. I said, no, you can't do that. I will not allow this to happen. The same way that I will protect your right to speak, my right to also speak must be protected. That was the issue of yesterday. A minority saying that the majority, led by myself, should not state the other side of the case. Once they came out and said that they had filed proceedings and therefore the clerk should be made to withdraw his letter, that should be final. I said, who are you to say that that is final? You are just a minority. You are ordinary members of parliament. You don't determine the law. The speaker is the one to rule. Ghanaians are the ones who have put us here. So let's go and speak to Ghanaians. You state your case again. Let me state our side of the case. And then Ghanaians will hear both sides. Then the speaker will come and rule. They said, no, it won't happen. I said, well, let's go back into the chamber. As for speaking, I will speak. And I will state exactly what the clerk's case is. And you also state your case. And the speaker will come and then rule. That was it. They will not agree. That's how come one went into the chamber and then the first deputy speaker asked me to state what the case is. They got up and they were being rowdy. I could have also allowed my side to run over them. But I said, no, we will not do that. They want to lure us to behave in a way that Ghanaians will see both sides as undermining the constitution. After our side, we will not do that. That is what held us until Speaker decided to come. And then when he came, Speaker said, look, the leader has to state what the problem of the House is today so that I can take a decision. They said, no. Speaker should go ahead. Speaker is aware of what the issue is. Because, you know, the records of the House has not captured both sides of the argument. So for me to rule, the records of the House must capture both sides of the argument. So yes, I was watching television. I heard what you said, that you stopped the majority from commenting on what you have said, because they would have also indicated the other side of the story. They started with Honorable Dafiamako, who got up to respond, because I was not even in the chamber at that time. So Dafiamako got up to respond to you or comment on your statement, and you refused to allow him to comment. In commenting, he would have responded to your issues, but you refused to allow him to comment. Now I'm coming to the chamber, and you want me to rule. And I'm saying that allow the majority leader to state what the problem is, so that I will now give a ruling. They said no. What kind of a minority is this? We've been tolerant, but we cannot tolerate you when you want to clearly undermine the very basis of parliamentary democracy, that both sides of the House should speak. So it is not even about Kpandai. It's not about whether or not Yindam should be allowed to appeal, whether or not we should go and have elections tomorrow or in 30 days. No, we are not in a hurry.
Yes.
If he goes to the court today, because the motion is going to be moved this morning. So we said, look, the motion is going to be moved this morning. The Electoral Commission has not even announced that it wants to hold a by-election. So if you move your motion today and the court rules in your favor, it will restrain the Electoral Commission. But you cannot stop the clerk from exercising his constitutional obligations, because if he's later being punished for not acting in accordance with the Constitution, you will not be there to save him.
And talking about the clerk's function, constitutional function. Now,
Yes.
since the Speaker said this, if he files further processes, it may serve as a restraint. Wouldn't you expect that the clerk, before even informing the Electoral Commission, would probably know what the Speaker's position is, based on his earlier ruling that this may serve as a restraint?
Well, that is why we told them that let us get back into the chamber let both sides state their case. I know the arguments based on which the clerk acted. The clerk has no right to speak in the chamber, so he cannot be heard in his defense. But I, as leader, will state his case. If I state his case, then Speaker will come and rule. And they said no, they won't allow that. But be that as it may, as for what Speaker said, it is open to different interpretation. Speaker said that if he filed processes, it may. He didn't say that it will. He says it may.
Exactly.
So we're expecting Speaker to come and explain what it may means. So when I met with them, I said, oh, I think that perhaps you have a genuine misunderstanding of it, which is genuine. So because your misunderstanding may be genuine, let's all be transparent about it. Let's get back into the chamber, restate your case, emphasize the fact that you acted based on Speaker's statement that a process filed by you may. Then I will also repeat what I think the clerk acted on. Then all of us will agree that there is a genuine misunderstanding. It's not your fault. It is also the fault of the clerk. But let's call Speaker to come and clarify. I was being very, very sincere. And they agree with me in conclusion that, yeah, you are making sense. Let us go and talk to our backbenchers and see if they will allow you to come and make a statement. I said, your backbenchers are the ones to allow me to come and make a statement in the House.
Please hold on 1 minute.
That.
Hold on 1 minute. You say they agreed. Who and who were in that meeting with you?
Oh, Mitu was in the meeting. What's his name? Honor Habib was in the meeting. The deputy leader, minority leader was in the meeting.
That's Patricia PJ.
Honorable Jerry was in the meeting.
Okay.
I was in the meeting. And when I explained to them, they said, okay, we'll go and talk to our backbenchers to see whether we can all come back into the chamber so that as a leader, you can state this clearly. If you state this clearly, then we can now invite Speaker to come and give a ruling. They went, and then we sat in the Speaker's waiting room for about 10 minutes. And they came back and said, our backbenchers have refused. I said, who are your backbenchers to say they have refused? Who are they? Who are your backbenchers to say that I, as a leader, I cannot come into the chamber and then try to resolve an issue? You see, so it's not about Kpandai. Even if you have issues with Kpandai and you are a law-abiding group of political actors, you know the law. You know the process. But to try to hijack the democracy and start threatening instability and start threatening the democracy, then who are you? This democracy was established by the NDC, and we will defend it. And we will defend every principle underlying the democracy. The principle that you must have your views. Look, from the beginning of Parliament, if you recall, I kept saying that we are 187 at that time, and you are 89 at that time. And I said that it is not fair for us to be given equal airtime in the chamber. Speaker said, no, democracy is equality of opposition and majority. So if I'm giving you 10 minutes, I'll give the minority also 10 minutes, even though they are half your number. That is democracy. We fought it. Even my backbenchers are still fighting it. But Speaker says, the number of minutes I'm giving the minority is the same number I will give to you, the majority, even though you are 2 times their number. Now today, you, after benefiting from that, are now taking a step further to say that when you get up and speak, we, the majority, should not speak. How? That is the real issue of yesterday. He wasn't concerned about Nindam and whatever is happening in his constituency. No, in all sincerity, I wasn't concerned about that. It is a principle that they, as a minority, should restrain the majority from speaking. Just speaking.
So your concern was about that. But before we continue with your concern, I just want your view, because when I asked earlier, I didn't get that view clearly. The fact that because of the Speaker's point that this may serve as a restraint, wouldn't you then expect that before the clerk writes to the Electoral Commission, he would get the view of the Speaker, whether whether it now serves as a restraint before writing to the Electoral Commission?
Masa, Me, like I told you, I wasn't concerned about Yindam and Nepal and their fights in Kpandai. I wasn't concerned about what was happening in the courts. I'm not party to the proceedings. I don't even know what stage they are. It was only yesterday when these things were happening that I then tried to get the court records to find out. And Speaker told me that they had come to serve the parliament and all those things. That was not my concern. Indeed, it was for us to have clarity on what is the proper legal step to take that I said, oh, let us all argue our case in public, in the chamber, before the cameras, and then let's invite the speaker to come. And then he will tell us what he actually meant when he said in the situation where the MP files some processes, it may serve as a restraint. It may well be the speaker will come and then explain it in your favor. I don't care. But you cannot say that we shouldn't go into the chamber and discuss our problem. Where else should we discuss our problem? That is for me the issue. The issue about what the law is, whether the clerk acted properly or improperly. What I know is that as the law is, the clerk acted properly within the law. After the clerk's action, he cannot be faulted. What Speaker actually meant, we should have allowed a discussion in the chamber in an atmosphere that will enable the Speaker to give a ruling. They are the ones who prevented that from happening. So they are the ones who suffer the legal consequences. Because as we speak, the clerk haven't communicated to the Electoral Commission, the 30 days have started running. Unless they have a court order restraining the Electoral Commission, the 30 days have started running. That is what the law is. And the clerk acted properly within the law. I'm a lawyer and I know. And any lawyer who reads CI 132 will tell you that it is simple. Once you don't have an order of a court saying that its judgment should be stayed, the time keeps running.
Now, after sitting yesterday, did you engage any members of the minority?
Oh, well, in the chamber we are friends, so we will do all the things we are doing, but at the end of the day, we're all acting within the democratic environment. I was fighting for the right of the majority to be heard on the floor. As for Yindam and Jakwal and what's happening in Kpandai and what the position of the NPP is and etc., that's the normal politics. They must be seen fighting for their own. They have forgotten that the person that Yindam defeated is also an NDC person. So we also have a stake in fighting for our own. So if you feel that you should fight for your own, you think that we shouldn't be fighting for our own, how unreasonable could you be? Especially when the law is on our side, and then you are saying that you don't want transparency. There should be no discussion of what the law is. And it cannot happen. That cannot happen. So, I mean, if we start allowing that, then we'll be destroying the democracy.
What Ghanaians would want to know is that following yesterday's happenings, what is likely to happen in Parliament today?
Oh, after Parliament, as you saw yesterday, we as a majority will go there and then we will continue taking our estimates. That is the budget of the various ministries and agencies, working towards the passage of the Appropriation Act. Whatever it is they want to come and do, they can bring it on. We are there. We'll wait and receive them.
Talking about waiting and receiving them, yes, yesterday I saw you going through the estimates, but and you saying that you are actually on course, and based on what transpired yesterday, they've actually enabled you to pass it quickly. Wouldn't you have preferred at least a debate on all of these estimates for us to know what's happening and what happened at the committee level?
That is why Ghanaians should be marking them down. When we're in opposition, we use these debates to highlight corruption, highlight inefficiency of government, highlight wastage, highlight bad management of the economy. They, instead of doing what Ghanaians expect them, which is to use the budget debate as a platform to highlight these issues, prefer to be pursuing a matter that really has nothing to do with the passage of the budget. So it's not for me to be concerned about people highlighting the negatives of the budget, because it is my budget. And I sat in cabinet with the finance minister, and we debated it and approved it. So far as I'm concerned, it's a good budget. So the finance minister came and stated it. We debated the principles of the budget. Now we're just looking at allocations to sectors. So I have nothing negative to highlight. So it would have been a good opportunity to further highlight the good things in the budget. But even more so, in their case, it would have been an excellent opportunity to highlight the negatives, which will go to advance the cause of the NPP. But they failed the NPP woefully by conducting themselves the way that they conducted themselves and denying their political base the opportunity to highlight the negatives of our budget. So they lost out. As for me, I don't mind how the budget gets passed. I just want it passed. That's my job.
The Honorable MAHAMA AYARIGA, thank you very much for joining us this morning. We're grateful.
Thank you very much.
MAHAMA AYARIGA no see and Michael Okyere Baafi say massa. When this MPs or catch them all. NPP MPs minority, they will not allow you people to bully them. I also omo kwan da. Na dem moye ma ama kwan ama dem mo so mo ye no ma anya abusafo mo ba twene srane abasasa. Michael Okyere Baafi encyclopedia mu asempa 94.7 FM enra one obi ebon komo gosi se program so. Ono so one no dey ma NDC MPs ni ni e.
Say what advertising intentions clear say also person wo Kpandai seat no. We abeji suhun, we abeji Tema Central. Yate ye twen. And note that you make say parliament, say minority no. Ya ho dey parliament and say ya be kasa wa ha no etiamaye. And ya try to be disrupt parliament. And that people may not understand because you sorry wo ambeto aso. Say ene ya buy no. Ya ka say okay ya kasa wie ya ko press conference. Ya walk out. But it's like ya operation go so. Estimates no because ministers no ba. Or say yes ya operation no. But you tell why you see him parliament in Gosye. That is what we want to do. And not until
we protest and our business.
And also no, but that's the only reason why. We would not. We say we are so determined. Say
my business
and also nothing will happen today. I'm telling you, that is the decision. Yeah, only my colleague.
The more yes, to Ochana Kram.
They say you're paying the side.
Say
nothing will happen.
The application for
say you need see applications in there, and I say you better draw letter no. The draw letter now what you call electoral commission no
will be withdrawn.
Must be. Also more withdraw letter no immediately. So withdraw letter no chana. You buy better trust. I'm a leader kasa. Because leader if you leader no kasa na yesi amanin kasa because yesi apart from speaker no say I hear for a tea hokra game to manin kasa speaker buy no and it no but okaso bia from kasa apart from yen and apart of kasa obe issue instruction to Detroit game or no speaker na because okay near letter na enam wiem no enye no kre then
and we
will be satisfied. Apart from that, I'm telling you, say, this is.
But that is you taking the business of the house to
what business do you have in the house?
And I was saying, appropriation.
And I make us say, what business? Say, oh, yeah, appropriation, you. Because, say, who legitimate claim out, you should not follow that through.
Okay.
When, say, a legitimate, not. Yes. If it's legitimate, we don't have a case. But in this case, only man finally appeal and stay of execution. You know, that action cannot be enforced because any several speaker. One case what just we are several. As a matter of fact, yes, several parliament on the first, and then they cause and the opposite chair opposite bullying, and yet say, "Yang, what you bullying?" Just say. Just here getting pico. Well, say no. Ye pico dia. Anybody tell you say ke pia ba say come ye dwuma ni wi. But ye see MP now. Ye bound to no. Ye be yes will disrupt the whole
disruptive process.
That is what we're going to do. And that is the language and this 40 years here. E ba no na leader no sorry gidi on ye na be tie. Gidi sorry say and na me pray and na me leader. Una leader of the house on pray. na say any appropriation we are not in government una say appropriation ma and as you gina gina so you be agoso obi aso to pamoye fi parliament o gina members of parliament obi antimi pamoye and you kun nyina na nko we parliament nafa and then like you said that one you have a case but so kun yen na antimi pamoye no you be gina ho say ya 3 weeks you be just dey cho we be fear me kokoto aso me ko gina ho
and the month answer.
Yeah, mama, mama, not until because the econ, yeah, sure, say, clearly see, oh, and this is being led by the former Pope. Yeah, Nina, no more work, take the Nina. And on person, ya, na day. This is your colleague in parliament. What is a unia, what down for no? What down necessary, yeah, na, and I won't sympathize with him in the name of party politics, and not would decide same way. It doesn't augur well for democracy. But you say, say
very well.
Democracy they practice they kabi. And why Ocha why you been channeling. But I didn't say no any a simbraso. And the rule of law, you believe we say as a court of judgment. Near Odi for the say Mate as Masaya appeal. And I must say it been twa as a so if I got the next level. Was several parliament. The parliament enya timama no. O kasa unipa. Na we dia wo mo nyina makoko madadem hu eyi na me pese me use words bi. Words bi ayi na anim. I am pese be use. And na mo pese mo ye eyi bi.
O mo ye
me pese me man beka. Na gana fo no o so tie.
Na busuafo ntokware de ebekọ so saa. Yeda mo nyina asese mo hwe fa dwumade ni ensia. Bigidi se enche Samuel Kojejantua Doctor Mobetini Radio on Nana Jantua TV. This is Stephen Zando Moko Krano. Obe click subscribe button na mami uwia na fi wa like no comment no wa share na for so anya bi ahwe makra.